Hey everybody, welcome back to our Rooted Online. This video is for if you missed our online session previously this night on Wednesday. It was an awesome time. We had a great discussion and I really hope to have seen all of you there. It was incredible. So we're going to be continuing our 4-week series called Atypical. And we're talking all about family in this message series. But before we get started, I really want you all to know that we're here for you. We're not going anywhere. God's not going anywhere. And if you need anything, please do not hesitate to contact us. Call us. Submit your prayer requests. You can keep those anonymous if you would like. But whatever we can do to help you, know that we're here. And we will do everything within our power to help in any way we can. Okay, other than that, we're going to get started. I hope that you enjoy this. I hope that you're growing from this. I hope you're all staying safe, stay healthy, and we're praying for you. So here we go. So as I just stated a few moments ago in that short little intro, this is week 2 of our series about atypical families. And we're talking about some not so normal families in the Bible and our own not so normal families as well. So, as we continue with this, I want you to think real quick about what makes your family your family. How many parents or step-parents do you have? How many siblings in your family? How many aunts and uncles? Besides parents and siblings, do you have anyone else living in your home? Do you have any pets? Or lastly, when's the last time you had a disagreement with your family? Or with another member in your family, I should say. Just think about those as we're going through this lesson today. Because there's a lot of ways our families are different. But there's one thing that I know for sure, without a doubt. All families have disagreements sometimes. All families don't always get along. So, we're going to do an activity real quick. I'm going to give you 5 situations with 5 different families. And let's see how good you are at solving family disagreements. Here we go. A foster family. John and Abigail have always wanted kids, but they haven't been able to have any biological children. Because of their desire to care for kids and the needs they know exist in their community, they decided to become foster parents. Right now, they are fostering one child whose parents have been deported. Her name is Gabriella, and she is 10 years old. They also have Jake, who is 15 years old. His mother recently passed away from a long illness, and he's never met his father. Gabriella is having trouble adjusting to her new foster family because she misses her parents. Jake is often angry and recently started getting in trouble at school. What should this family do next? A blended family. Joel and Anna divorced 3 years ago. They have 2 kids, Ellie and Colin. Last year, Joel and Anna both remarried. Joel married Chloe, who has a daughter named Elise, and Anna married Ben, who has a son named Marcus. Now their family has grown from 2 parents and 2 kids to 4 parents and 4 kids. Ellie and Colin don't get along with Elise and are angry at their dad for getting remarried. Marcus often gives his new stepmom, Anna, a hard time. What should this family do? A single-parent household. Renee is a single mom who has 3 kids, James, Kyle, and Jody. She works 2 jobs in order to support her children. James, who is 17, works a job to help take care of things around the house and also takes on the role of a father to his younger siblings. James is often frustrated by the fact that he has to help parent his siblings instead of simply being a kid, and his siblings don't often see James as an authority figure. What should this family do next? The independent kids. Max and Jennifer are both very involved with their jobs. Jennifer is often traveling around the world, while Max often works 10 to 15-hour days. Their 2 kids, David and Yasmin, don't get to spend too much time with their parents.
David, who's 15, and Yasmin, who's 17, are pretty used to this arrangement by now, and they can take care of themselves, but the distance is causing a strain on their relationship with their parents. Max and Jennifer want to provide for their family financially, but struggle with leaving their kids alone so often. David often misses his parents, but he doesn't want anyone to know how sad he is. Yasmin doesn't think about her parents much and tends to go to her friends for advice when she needs someone to talk to. What should this family do next? The friendship family. Rochelle, Maria, and Blake grew up in the same neighborhood. All three of them have had difficult home lives, but they've always had each other. They have been best friends since they were in diapers and once made a pact that they would always be family, no matter what. But things have been changing recently. Maria just found out she's being transferred to a new school away from Rochelle and Blake. Blake just got a new girlfriend, and he has been spending less and less time with Maria and Rochelle. All three of them are worried their friendship family might be coming to an end. What should this family do next?
So now that we've had some time to imagine life as one of these atypical families, one of those 5 families we just listed and talked about a little bit, I want you to think about what you learned from that family you were given by just reading them and thinking about them. Think about what was atypical about that family. Think about ways in which you could relate to that atypical family as well. And lastly, think about what advice you would give to that family or any of those families that we discussed. Because when it comes to families, who says what typical really is? It's really hard to find typical in a family anymore. And sometimes we let others' definitions or views of what's normal shape the view of our own families. We want to be a normal, good family, and we let other people's views of that shape us. But as we said last week, if you were watching or with us then, no matter what kind of family you come from, no family is typical. There is not a typical family. Your family is already atypical. And God is calling your family to be even more atypical than it already is. Every family has its imperfections, has their arguments, has their problems, has their struggles. But typical families either try to handle them on their own or never handle them at all. Atypical families, on the other hand, invite God into their imperfections, into their problems, and into their struggles. I know for me, one time I got into a big argument with my sister. We just weren't getting along, and she, as a sibling, was mad at me. I don't remember what for, something I did that was my fault. I do remember that. So she told my parents something that got me in big trouble. Don't remember exactly what that was either, but I wanted to fight back. I wanted to do something to hurt her back, but I didn't. Instead, I know it might sound weird, but I prayed about it. And through that prayer where I just said, God, I don't understand. I'm mad at my sister. She really, really made me mad. I want to get back at her, but I know I shouldn't. And help me. Help me to find a way to make things right with her. Help me to find a way to grow, and help me find a way to not allow this to ruin the relationship I have with my sister. And then I thanked God for the blessing he gave me of even having a sister who I'm very close with. And then things changed. We made up. And now my sister is probably one of my best friends in the world. I cannot say enough about how much my sister means to me and how awesome she is. Because at some point, every family is going to experience conflict or difficulty. And that's what I'm saying in this. My family did it too, even with my sister, who I'm super close with, even with my brother all the time, who I'm super close with. And you might be experiencing one of those situations right now. Typical families might try to handle those situations on their own or ignore the problems and hope they go away. But atypical families know they can't handle them on their own. They know that they need to ask for God's help, and they do. They do ask for God's help. And last week, in our introduction to this 4-week series, we talked about the family of Adam and Eve, the world's very first family, and how that very first family went very, very wrong when they chose to disobey God and hurt each other in significant ways. But because God is good, and because God is great, and because of God's grace, God used their family to do something amazing and eventually bring Christ into the world. And today, I want to talk about another family, the family of Abraham, that happened generations after Adam and Eve, and how they were atypical in their own ways. And I know a lot of us have heard of Abraham before. He is a really important person in history of our faith, and really important because the promise God made to him, the Abrahamic covenant. So let's learn more about his life and his family, especially his relationship with his nephew, Lot. So here's some scripture to kind of explain what that relationship looked like at one point in their lives.
Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And quarreling arose between Abram's herders and Lot's. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. So Abram said to Lot, "Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left." Lot looked around and saw the whole plain of the Jordan toward Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord.
Now, Abraham and Lot were like many of our families today. They fought. And in fact, they fought so much that if they had continued living near each other, they probably would have ended up hating each other. So Abraham and Lot moved to different cities because they fought. They didn't know what to do. And we just saw that. But then this story picks up. And this is when they're living in these different cities and Abraham's talking to God. And here's what happens. Keep in mind, this is the city that they're talking about is the city that Lot is now living in. And here's how that goes.
Then the Lord said, "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great and their sin so grievous, that I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will know." The men turned away and went toward Sodom, but Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Then Abraham approached him and said, "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you sweep it away and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous people in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, treating the righteous and the wicked alike. Far be it from you. Will not the judge of all the earth do right?" The Lord said, "If I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake." Then Abraham spoke up again. "Now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, though I am nothing but dust and ashes? What if the number of the righteous is 5 less than 50? Will you destroy the whole city for the lack of 5 people? If I find 45 people there, he said, I will not destroy it. Once again he spoke to him. What if only 40 are found there? He said. For the sake of 40, I will not do it. Then he said, May the Lord not be angry, but let me speak. What if only 30 can be found there? He answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Abraham said, Now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, what if only 20 can be found there? He said, For the sake of 20, I will not destroy it. Then he said, May the Lord not be angry, but let me just speak once more. What if only 10 can be found there? He answered, For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of all the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham and brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived.
Abraham and Lot had a long history of disagreements because they fought so much that they even had to move to different cities. But when Abraham learned God was going to destroy Sodom, again, the city where Lot lived, Abraham made a choice. He pleaded with God on Lot's behalf. And in response to Abraham's prayer, the Lord saved Lot and his family. And last week, we said that sometimes that change in your atypical family starts with you. We said that the first person in your family to do something atypical sometimes needs to be you yourself. And that's what Abraham did. Because when you're fighting with someone in your family, it's typical to do what Abraham did. It's not at all typical to do that. The typical response is to fight back, hold a grudge, or the dreaded silent treatment, or to say, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Which I know for me, when I hear that, I get even more upset with myself and just upset in general. But Abraham chose to do the atypical thing. He prayed for Lot in the middle of their conflict. He didn't want an apology. He reacted and reached out first through prayer. And this might be something that seems so simple, but it's so atypical. Because not so typical families pray for each other. Just like Abraham saw prayer change his life for the better through this, and I saw prayer for my family change for the better through prayer, prayer can change your family for the better too. I am a firm believer in the power of prayer. Every family has their imperfections, their problems, and their struggles. But atypical families invite God into their situations through prayer. And prayer doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as just thanking God for your family, even if you're not sure you mean it at the moment. I know I've been there. Asking God to give you love, to give you joy, to give you peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control, the fruits of the Spirit. You can be asking God to give you wisdom to resolve your disagreement. You can be asking God to give that wisdom to the person you're fighting with, but not in a passive-aggressive way. Be careful about that one. And you can be thanking God for helping your family. So, think now about a recent disagreement you had with a family member, or a disagreement you seem to have often that repeats in your family. Now imagine how that conflict could be transformed if you stopped to pray, instead of fighting. It's interesting that Abraham chose to pray for Lot before they even reconciled. In the middle of their conflict, Abraham went first by choosing to pray for Lot instead of choosing to fight. So this week, what if you decided to go first? When disagreements happen, typical families scream, fight, hold grudges, and struggle to find common ground. But not so typical families pray for each other. And if you continue praying for your family more than you fight with them, imagine how God might be able to use your family to do atypical things in the world. Again, not so typical families pray for each other, and that is insanely important, I believe, especially in this time that we are in, where we're all together and tensions may run high. I know they are in my family with them at home, and I hope that's not happening for you. But if it is, just imagine what would happen if you prayed for your family more than you fought with them.
As we have been doing, here are some questions for you to discuss with your youth, with your family, and you can even contact me if you want to discuss some of these questions. But I would strongly encourage you to discuss these with anyone so that you can really get this message and really think about how God is working right now in your family, in your atypical family. I hope you're all safe. I hope you're all well. Please contact us if you need prayer. We're here. We're thinking of you. We love you, and we miss you. Please, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and have hope that we will be able to gather again soon. Hope that is found in our risen Lord, our Savior, Christ. Thank you, and we will be able to gather again soon, and I miss seeing all of you greatly.